Today we are taking a look at a camera that I'm honestly shocked has now been available for nearly 4 years. But I think it still holds up really well today for owner-operators wanting a camera that can easily slide into a range of different filming situations and productions. This is the Canon C70, and it, along with its bigger brother, the C300 Mark III, have become popular with documentary and run-and-gun camera operators wanting a really great balance of features in a well-designed, robust and reliable body. In this video, I want to take a look at why we still use the C70 and what we could potentially see in Canon's next version of this already fantastic camera. We've used the C70 a bunch since it was released, and one big reason has to be its stellar image quality. The sensor inside of the C70 is a big component of why people absolutely love this camera still. It's the same Super 35 sensor with a physical size of 26.2 by 13.8mm and a pixel pitch of 6.4 microns that is featured in the C300 Mark III. Canon claims that the C70 can capture up to 16 stops of dynamic range, and this is partly thanks to this sensor featuring the implementation of the technique known as dual gain output. This isn't a new technique and is used by arguably the most popular digital cinematography sensor ever made, the Arri Alexa, and this tech being implemented has helped give the C70 a fantastic reputation for excellent dynamic range, and it does handle highlights really well for a Canon camera. It's definitely not quite 16 stops, but I do think it's one of Canon's best performing sensors. It really can capture some excellent looking images, and we still love using it because of how easy we can get a great looking image and how nicely it cuts with our RED cameras that we use primarily. However, one thing to be aware of is that this dual gain output is only available when shooting at 60 frames per second and below. Canon has also said that the optimum setting for DGO is ISO 800 in Canon Log 2. The recording formats inside the C70 have changed quite a bit since it was released. It can now record a range of internal cinema raw light formats, as well as a range of different XFAVC and MP4 formats depending on what you need. When we use the C70, we mainly use cinema raw light when we need the extra flexibility in post, or XFAVC Intra when we want to capture good looking imagery in camera for faster turnaround projects, like event capturing, which we do quite often with this camera. 4K is still a really good acquisition resolution. Playing back and colouring footage from the C70 is a breeze, especially when compared to the 8K footage from the R5C, which can be hard to process. Personally, for the kind of work we do, I find 6K is the sweet spot, as it still allows us to deliver 4K while adding post-stabilisation and cropping when needed. You can shoot 4K up to 120 frames per second and 2K up to 180, but this is not possible in RAW, where the max you can record is 60p. The colour that this camera can capture is another big reason why it's been so popular, and Canon cameras in general have been over the years. We will often just shoot the YDR profile in the camera when in XFAVC, as the colour straight out of the camera is really nice. But you can of course ingest a LUT if you have a look you'd rather record in camera, or capture C-Log 2 or 3 if you want to colour your footage in post. The colour really is great and very natural looking with great skin tones, as you'd expect from a Canon camera. Another massive convenience that the Canon C70 has is its excellent built-in ND filter system. You have a standard range of 0, 2, 4 and 6 stops, and an extension mode which adds 8 and 10 stops. You can control this ND via the buttons on the side, which makes for easy access for when you are running and gunning. This system really is fantastic to use. The quality of the NDs is great, and really will save you time while filming. If Canon do bring out a new camera soon, it would be cool to see them be a touch faster to go between the different stops, or maybe even increase the range. The physical design of the C70 has received both praise and critique throughout the years. If you've used a larger DSLR, you'll feel right at home with this camera. Considering what's crammed inside, it is actually decently compact. It's great for compact configurations where you want to have a small camera package. It can be rigged up easily for more cine style shooting, stripped down to put onto a gimbal, and can even be shoulder mounted with the right kit. Though it really shines in its more stripped down, compact configurations. The bottom is pretty poorly laid out though for tripod mounting, so if you do grab a C70, I suggest grabbing this tilter plate for it as well, which will make securing it to a tripod plate much nicer. One common issue with these cameras is the rear LCD hinge getting all loose and floppy. Canon will service and fix this for you, and newer cameras have had a slight change in design to try and make it more robust. But it is frustrating that it's designed this way. This is one of the big things that I would love to see refined on a new version of this camera. A larger, brighter and more robust monitor would be great to see. The C70 uses Canon's BPA batteries. These have been available for a while now, so there are plenty of third-party options available if you don't want to shell out the extra cash for the Canon official ones. There are also good options that have power outputs if you need to power something on camera like a monitor or focus motor. Thanks to the C70's reasonable power draw and these decently sized batteries, you can get some really good run times. A BPA 30 should get you roughly 3 hours of shooting, and the BPA 60 will get you between 5 to 6 hours. This means you don't have to lug loads of batteries around, swap them out all the time while shooting, or have to use rigging to use an external power source. Another big plus for the C70 is that it uses the Canon RF mount, which is now their standard across their modern mirrorless cameras. This means that you can use the fantastic, while still very expensive Canon RF mount lenses, or adapt out to a bunch of other lenses, as long as their flange depth is greater than 20mm. It's so frustrating that RF still lacks a massive amount of third-party lens options. Whoa, wait a second. This has now changed, as both Sigma and Tamron have announced the development of lenses for RF mount. Sigma have announced 6 lenses and Tamron just 1, and weirdly, they are only APS-C lenses currently. This is something that Canon should have done a long time ago, but regardless, it's a great step in the right direction, and hopefully we'll see more lenses from them both for RF mount very soon. Thanks to the short flange of RF, there are a bunch of adapters available to standard mounts like EF or PL, or you could even use a focal reducer if you want to use full frame lenses and get closer to that full frame look. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. If you want to buy anything you see in this video or any other filmmaking or photography equipment, head over to cvp.com where our experienced team is waiting to help you. The autofocus system in the C70 is still good, and if you learn the system well, you can get some really great performance out of it. However, it definitely isn't quite as up to date as Canon's newer mirrorless cameras. Canon has updated the autofocus a few times over the years, and we now have eye and face tracking even in slow and fast mode. I would love to see Canon really step up their autofocus in their next Cinema EOS cameras, as they have been at the forefront of autofocus for years, and a cinema camera with an up-to-date system would be great to see. The audio recording possibilities with the C70 are great. Due to the camera's compact body design, you have 2 3-pin mini XLR ports, which can provide 48V phantom power instead of full-size XLRs. This isn't too much of an issue though, as you can easily get mini XLR to full-size XLR cables for your regular microphones. It also has a 3.5mm mic in port, headphone out, and an internal scratch mic built into the body. It can capture up to 4 channels of audio, which you can monitor on the rear LCD, and can be controlled via the dials behind the monitor here, which can be a bit difficult to adjust in certain camera configurations. As you expect from Canon Cinema EOS cameras, the audio when using the XLRs is great, and is another piece of what makes this camera so versatile. The C70 has received 8 firmware updates across its life, and Canon has really pushed the camera to its absolute limits. Here's a list of everything that's changed. It really is incredible how much Canon has pulled out of this camera, and anyone who got the camera when it came out must be so happy with how much the camera has matured and changed over the years. And even when compared to newer cameras that are available now, the C70 still holds up really well, which is partly thanks to how good these firmware updates have been. If you're looking at buying a C70, you can often find them on offer new, or even look at them used, where you can get good condition cameras refurbished and checked by our in-house engineers for a good chunk less. If you want to check out our current used stock, head over to cvp.com/used. If you wonder how it compares to some of the other cameras out there, we've done a bunch of comparison videos throughout the years, including the C70, so check those out if you want to learn more and see if this is the right camera for you. The C70 is still a fantastic camera even this far into its life, but Canon hasn't launched a new Cinema EOS product since the R5C. So what's next for Canon? Well, they really need to update their entire Cinema EOS line. All of their current Cinema EOS cameras are still great, but there are several things that I think they could change or add to really get them into more new camera purchase conversations. I think a full frame 6K C70 is a logical next step for them. And if they can combine that with their most up-to-date autofocus system, a better, more robust monitor design, a revised thread layout on the bottom of the camera, and maybe the addition of a mechanical image stabilization system, I think they would be onto a winner. The C300 and 500 also need to switch over to RF mount, and could do with some updated sensor technology inside of them as well. The Burano really has shown that people want a camera that blurs the lines between cine and video workflows. And I think if Canon refined these larger C-series cameras ever so slightly, opened up RF mount to third-party lens makers, and marketed it correctly, they could do very well from it. Let us know what you would like to see in Canon's next camera in the comments below. Well, Canon, as we said, has been quiet. I think the 24-105 2.8 lens that came out last year is a clear indication that video and cine are still important markets for Canon's imaging sector. Hopefully we have some new cameras and more of these hybrid lenses to use together from Canon very soon.